Hold on to your seats, because the drama unfolding behind the scenes of Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta is more explosive than anything we've seen on screen. In a shocking twist that no one saw coming, the queen of reality TV, herself Mona's finally broken her silence, and what she's saying is sending shockwaves through the entire franchise. That's right, Mona is firing Kirk and Rasheeda Frostand, not just quietly parting ways. No ma'am. She's exposing exactly why she made this move, and the behind-the-scenes tea is hotter than ever. Sources close to the production are revealing that the decision didn't come overnight. Oh no, it was the result of months of tension, shady deals, secret betrayals, and a scandal that allegedly forced Mona to make a choice she didn't want to make. One insider said, "It's not just about the show anymore. It got personal. Allegations of manipulation, off-camera confrontations, and even a hidden recording are all being dragged into the light. And fans are left wondering, who's the villain, and who's the victim?" The Frosts, once hailed as the power couple of reality TV, are now being called out for everything from backdoor deals to violating production trust. And when Mona dropped the bombshell that finally pushed her over the edge, the room went dead, silent. Some crew members were even seen walking off set, wiping away tears. According to an eyewitness, "I've seen drama before, but this felt final." Now fans are torn. Some are rallying behind Rasheeda, calling Mona's move disrespectful and abrupt. Others say Kirk has been dodging consequences for years, and this was long overdue. But no matter what side you're on, one thing is clear. This is the end of an era. It's ending in flames. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into this tangled mess of loyalty, betrayal, and reality TV chaos. What really happened between Mona, Kirk, and Rasheeda? Why now? And what comes next for the couple who built their brand on surviving scandal after scandal? Keep watching, because the answers will shock you. It all started during what was supposed to be a routine cast dinner, just another night of laughter, passive-aggressive jabs, and forced smiles for the cameras. But this time, something shifted. Rasheeda had walked in looking stunning but tight-lipped, barely acknowledging the producers or the rest of the cast. Kirk followed closely behind her, wearing his usual smirk-like armor, trying to act as though nothing was wrong. But anyone who knew the Frosts could see it. The tension was bubbling, and it wasn't going to stay hidden for long. Mona Scott, always watching, always calculating, took mental notes as she sat silently at the end of the table, her phone on the table screen down, recording. That dinner was supposed to be the closing scene for the episode, but what it turned into was the beginning of the end. A producer whispered that Mona had been fed up for weeks, that Kirk and Rasheeda had crossed lines even she couldn't ignore anymore. But no one knew the full extent, yet. As the cameras rolled, Mona didn't say a word. She watched as Kirk tried to make another slick remark about holding things down like a real man, and Rasheeda, clearly sick of his bravado, cut him off mid-sentence. "Real men don't lie to their wives and then ask for applause," she snapped, her voice calm but venomous. Everyone froze. There was no comeback from Kirk this time, just silence and a flash of guilt in his eyes. The moment was raw, unscripted, and real. The air thick. Then came the spark. Bambi, always known to stir the pot, leaned in and said, "So what's really going on with you two? 'Cause word is, y'all been skipping production meetings and calling shots like y'all own the show." Mona's eyebrow twitched, barely noticeable, but to those who knew her, it was a warning sign. Kirk, defensive as always, shrugged. "Ain't nobody calling shots. We just doing us." But Rasheeda didn't let it slide. "You mean you doing you, Kirk? Lying, two producers, setting up your own camera crew behind Mona's back, and leaking scenes to bloggers for money. Tell the truth, since you like being a real man." Gasps rang out around the table. Scrappy knocked over his drink. Sierra's mouth fell open. Even the usually stoic production assistants couldn't hide their shock. Kirk laughed nervously. "Rasheeda, stop. You really wildin' right now." But Rasheeda wasn't backing down. She turned to Mona directly and said, "I tried to keep it private, Mona, but I can't anymore. This man is messing up your show for a quick buck." Mona didn't blink. She just reached for her phone and tapped the screen. That was it. The silent signal. Filming paused. Cameras stopped. Lights dimmed. Cast members were ushered out slowly, leaving just Mona, Kirk, and Rasheeda in the room. "What exactly did you just say to me?" Mona asked, her voice low but commanding. Kirk interjected, "She's just mad, saying stuff that ain't even true." Mona didn't even look at him. Her eyes were locked on Rasheeda. "Tell me, everything." And Rasheeda did. She told Mona about the secret meetings Kirk had been taking with rival networks, offering them raw footage from Love and Hip Hop for a fee. She told her about the off-the-books sponsorships he tried to sneak in, products placed deliberately in scenes without production's approval, violating contracts and risking lawsuits. She told her how Kirk had been manipulating storylines, telling cast members to say specific things on camera to benefit his image, not the show's. And worst of all, she revealed that Kirk had been bragging about having Mona wrapped around his finger, that he had leverage that would keep him untouchable. "I heard him say it," Rasheeda whispered, her voice trembling. "He said he had stuff on you. That if you ever tried to drop him, he'd ruin you." That's when Mona stood up. Slowly, deliberately, her entire demeanor shifted. "He said what?" she repeated, each word heavy. "He said what about me?" Kirk stood, now clearly panicking. "Nah, Mona, it ain't like that, Rasheeda, just she twisting it." But Mona wasn't listening to him anymore. She was already texting someone. Moments later, 2 security guards entered the room, quiet but firm. "Escort Mr. Frost off the premises," Mona said, not even looking at him. Kirk's face contorted in confusion. "Wait, what?" "Mona, this is me, it's Kirk. We built this, together." She turned to face him stone cold. "No, I built this. You just played your part. And now, your part is over." Rasheeda stood frozen. She hadn't expected it to go down like that. But deep down, part of her was relieved. She had been complicit for too long, covering for Kirk, protecting the brand, putting the show above her own dignity. Now, it was all unraveling. Kirk tried to plead, shouting as the guards led him away. "This ain't over. You gon' regret this, Mona." But Mona didn't even flinch. The door closed. Silence returned. And then she looked at Rasheeda and said something no one could believe. "You're next." Rasheeda's breath caught in her throat. "What?" Mona's eyes softened for a moment, but only for a moment. "You knew what he was doing. You helped him. Maybe you didn't film the scenes, but you knew, Rasheeda. You knew, and you didn't come to me until now. That makes you part of it." Rasheeda's voice cracked. "I didn't know everything. I swear. And when I did, I told you. That's gotta count for something, right?" Mona looked away, pacing. The weight of the moment was crushing even her usual composure. "You let him play me. You let him risk my legacy. This show isn't a hustle, it's my name, my life's work. And you sat there smiling through every lie." Rasheeda stepped forward, desperate now. "Please, Mona, don't do this. Let me make it right. Let me stay." Mona stopped pacing. The room held its breath. "You want to stay?" she said slowly. "Then you'll tell the truth. All of it. On camera. Tonight." Rasheeda's eyes widened. "You want me to air out my own husband?" "You already did," Mona replied. "Now do it for real. Or pack your bags." And that's where the chaos truly began. Because Rasheeda agreed. She wiped her tears, fixed her makeup, and walked right back on set. The cameras started rolling. Again, this time with no script, no makeup crew, no rehearsed storyline. Just real, raw truth. Mona sat behind the monitor, arms folded, lips pursed, watching every second unfold. The cast was called back in, confused and buzzing with rumors. "What's going on?" Scrappy asked. "Where's Kirk?" Bambi added, clutching. Her phone, already texting. "Why is Mona watching like that?" Sierra whispered to Erica. Then Rasheeda took center stage, voice trembling but clear. "I got something to say. And it's about me, about Kirk, and about this whole damn show." The set went quiet. And that's exactly where part 2 begins. The silence was electric as Rasheeda stood center stage under the harsh white lights. The rest of the cast gathering slowly like moths to a flame, each one sensing that something huge was about to go down. The usual snarky remarks and background whispering were going. Everyone was holding their breath. Mona sat behind the monitor like a judge at a trial, her expression unreadable. Her phone, now face up on the table, still recording. Rasheeda took a shaky breath, then launched into what would become the most talked about confessional in Love and Hip Hop history. "I lied," she began, her voice cracking. "Not just to Mona, not just to the fans, but to myself." The room shifted. Eyes widened. The air got colder. She continued, "For years, I protected Kirk. I covered up his mistakes. I let the narrative be what he wanted it to be. I knew about the sponsorship deals. I knew about the private meetings with rival producers. I didn't know everything, but I knew enough to have stopped him, and I didn't. I was scared. Scared to lose this show, scared to lose my brand, scared to face what people would say about me. So I kept smiling. I kept pretending. Sierra looked down at the floor, shaking her head. Scrappy muttered damn, under his breath, and Bambi. She actually had tears in her eyes. And I watched, Rasheeda said, voice getting stronger. As Kirk sold scenes behind Mona's back, leaked stories to bloggers, made deals that violated contracts. I begged him to stop, I warned him, but every time I threatened to say something, he'd remind me that we were a package. That if he went down, I'd go down too. Mona didn't move. Her eyes were locked on the screen, absorbing every word. The worst part, Rasheeda's voice dropped to a whisper. He wasn't wrong. Gasps rippled again. She turned to the rest of the cast. He told me if I left him, I'd lose everything. That no man would ever take me seriously after this show, that Mona wouldn't want me without the drama. And maybe I believed him, maybe I thought I needed him more than I needed myself. At this point, Erica Mena clutched her chest. Girl, what? She whispered. But Rasheeda kept going, so I stayed. And now, here I am, losing everything anyway. Mona, finally, stood, stepping onto the set. She walked slowly to Rasheeda, heels echoing like a verdict being delivered. The two women stood face to face. Mona didn't speak for a long moment. When she did, it was barely above a whisper, but everyone heard it. Why now? Rasheeda swallowed hard. Because I realized I wasn't protecting him, I was hiding behind him. And I don't want to hide anymore. Mona studied her. You know I should fire you. Rasheeda nodded. I know. You've betrayed this production. You've lied to your castmates. And you sat at that dinner table, night after night, acting like you weren't knee-deep in deception. I know, Rasheeda repeated. Quieter now? Mona exhaled. But you just gave me the realest footage I've seen in 5 seasons. The room collectively exhaled. That doesn't mean you're forgiven, Mona continued, but it means you might have a shot at redemption. You're going to earn your spot back. Scene by scene, truth by truth. No more scripts. No more safety nets. Rasheeda nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. Deal. Mona turned back to the cast. And the rest of you, if anyone else is holding secrets, if anyone's playing both sides, now's the time to come clean. Because the Frost era is over. This show is going back to real. Starting now, but of course, it was reality TV, and nothing stays real for long. Backstage, Kirk was fuming. Security had taken his mic off, but someone had forgotten to block him from the back lot, and when he saw Rasheeda on the monitor spilling everything, he lost it. He stormed through the hallway, phone in hand, already live on Instagram. They trying to set me up, man, he shouted to his followers. Mona Scott is playing dirty. Rasheeda betrayed me on national TV. And y'all just sitting there watching this mess. Comments flooded in, some calling him out, others siding with him. But before he could reach the main set, Mona's head of security intercepted him. You're done, Kirk? You're not stepping foot back out there? Oh, but Rasheeda can throw me under the bus and get a redemption arc. Kirk spat. That's what this is now. Inside, Rasheeda's phone buzzed in her pocket. A single message from Kirk. You just ended us. She didn't reply. She couldn't. Mona turned back to her. You still sure you want this? You still willing to burn it all down? Rasheeda took a breath and said, if that's what it takes to be honest, yes. What no one expected was what happened next. Because right then, right in that emotionally raw moment, Mama Shirlene, Rasheeda's mother, burst onto the set. Hold up now. I can't stay quiet no more, she shouted, waving a handbag like a battle flag. Mona, I don't care what you do to my daughter, but let me make one thing clear, this ain't all her fault. The room froze again. Rasheeda's jaw dropped. Mama, what are you doing? Shirlene marched up, planted herself next to her daughter, and pointed a finger. You might be grown, Rasheeda, but I raised you to have a backbone, not to be no man's puppet. And I watched you let Kirk walk all over you. I begged you to leave. I begged, but you wouldn't listen. So yeah, you messed up. But you did it out of love. And I'll be damned if I let you get tossed out like yesterday's trash. Mona tried to keep control. Mama Shirlene, I respect you, but don't you but me. Mona, Shirlene cut in. You built this show off their backs, off our drama. And now you want to act brand new like you didn't know what Kirk was doing. Gasps. Whispering, even Mona blinked in surprise. Don't look shocked, Shirlene continued. You didn't know specifics. But you ain't no fool, you felt it. You just didn't want to rock the boat until it tipped over. Well, guess what? It's sinking, baby. And everybody's getting wet. The room exploded in shouts. Scrappy stood up. Yo, she not wrong though. Sierra covered her mouth. This is too much. Bambi turned to Mona. Is that true? Did you know and just let it slide? Mona raised her hands, commanding order. I suspected things, but I never had proof. And until today, no one said a damn word. That's on all of y'all. And just like that, the drama mutated into something bigger than Kirk and Rasheeda became an indictment of the whole system. Loyalty, money, image, everyone was on edge, wondering who'd be next to fall. And Mona. She just smiled the coldest smile yet. Good, she said softly. Let's get back to filming. Now everyone's awake. The energy on set had completely changed. This wasn't just another explosive storyline. This wasn't a cheating scandal or a baby mama surprise. This was something deeper, something raw, unsettling, and dangerously real. Mona Scott stood in the center of her empire, no longer simply the executive producer pulling the strings, but now a woman surrounded by flames of her own making. And instead of trying to put them out, she was fanning them. Unexpected entrance had lit a match none of them could blow out, and now everyone in that room knew. The game had changed. Rasheeda stood with her mother beside her, the vulnerability in her eyes clashing with a new resolve that no one had seen in her before. She wasn't the polished businesswoman right now. She wasn't the reality TV veteran or the right wife. She was a woman standing at the crossroads of truth and legacy, forced to choose between loyalty to a broken man and loyalty to herself. The crew had returned to filming, but this time, the footage felt less like a production and more like a documentary unraveling in real. The cast members, still in shock, had begun to murmur among themselves, trying to figure out how they had gotten dragged into this emotional minefield. Scrappy pulled Rasheeda to the side. Yo, you good? I mean, all this is a lot, sis. Rasheeda sighed, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. No, I'm not good. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it's about time I stopped pretending like I was. Scrappy nodded slowly, clearly out of his depth. I mean, it's wild, but I respect it. Took guts. Meanwhile, Bambi was busy whispering to Erica Mena. Did you see Mona's face when Mama Charlene started talking? Like someone finally told her about herself. Erica laughed nervously. Mona's not used to being called out on her set. But listen, she created this chaos. She feeds off it. What did she expect? That people wouldn't eventually turn on her too? But Mona wasn't bothered, not in the slightest. She'd heard the whispers. She knew the cast was shaken. And that's exactly what she wanted. Because behind the scenes, something far bigger was unfolding. Contracts were being reviewed. Legal teams were scrambling. And for the first time, Mona's tight grip on the frost sand, the narrative was slipping. A confidential email had leaked, an internal message from one of Mona's assistant producers, exposing that the network had been pressuring her to freshen the franchise by quietly phasing out the Frosts. The network felt they were overexposed, too scripted, and unrelatable. And guess what? Mona had agreed. The email sent shockwaves. Kirk had apparently caught wind of it before Rasheeda had even spoken out, and that was the true reason he went rogue. Leaking footage and making outside deals. He knew the Frost brand was on its last legs and tried to cash out before the lights shut off. When Rasheeda saw the leaked email on her phone, everything clicked. All those moments Kirk had been checking on finances, all the late-night meetings with sponsors, all the stress he claimed was about protecting their brand. It was all a panic move. And Mona, she wasn't some innocent victim of betrayal. She had planned the Frost's downfall all along. Rasheeda confronted her behind the scenes. You were going to cut us anyway, weren't you? She demanded. Mona, ever composed, simply nodded. Eventually, the show needs new blood. Your story was tired. But I didn't ask Kirk to commit treason against the production. That was all him. Rasheeda's voice broke. So all this, the fake compassion, the big truth, moment was just a setup. No, Mona replied. It was opportunity. You took it. Now run with it. Rasheeda looked like she might cry again, but she didn't. She stood taller. You're colder than I thought, Mona. Mona smiled. And that's why I'm still standing. Elsewhere, the cast's tensions continued to rise. Sierra was pacing back and forth, yelling at a producer. How long y'all been planning to phase people out? Who's next? Me, BK. The producer refused to answer. Carly Red, sensing opportunity, slid into the frame like a pro. Sierra, baby, let them try. I've reinvented myself more times than Mona's changed wigs. You, not so much. Sierra, exploded girl, don't start with me, not today. I've been here working, filming every scene, promoting this damn show and, now they treating us like we disposable. Erica Mena chimed in, trying to calm the situation but only making it worse. Sierra, maybe if you gave the cameras more you and less of your business promos, they wouldn't be rethinking things. That's when Sierra threw a drink. And this time, it wasn't scripted. The entire room turned into chaos, separating cast members, Mona shouting for cameras to keep rolling, and Rasheeda watching from a distance like a ghost in her own story. Mama Charlene, still on set and unfazed, whispered to her daughter, "You see? All of them scrambling now, the same ones who judged you for staying with Kirk, now scared they next in line." Rasheeda nodded slowly. "It's all fake, Mama, all of it. Every tear, every scene, every friendship. We just stories to them. Then write a new one," Charlene said. "Start fresh. With or without Mona." And then just when things felt like they couldn't twist any further, Kirk went public with a tell-all. Not through an official network or press release. He uploaded a 20-minute video to his personal YouTube channel. Sitting in his basement, shirt slightly wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. "Y'all want the truth," he started. "Let me really tell y'all what's been happening behind the scenes." In the video, he accused Mona of manipulating him and Rasheeda for years, pitting them against each other, exploiting their real-life trauma for ratings. He claimed the cheating storylines were amplified by producers who offered bonuses for emotional breakdowns, and that Mona once told him, "Nobody cares about your love, they care about your mess." The internet exploded. Fans were divided. Some stood by Kirk, saying he was finally standing up to the machine. Others dragged him for trying to play victim after years of lying and cheating. One fan commented, "Kirk crying now after monetizing his own marriage for 10 years. Boy, bye." Another wrote, "Mona's been a puppet master, but Kirk built that stage and danced gladly." Mona responded the next day with a cryptic Instagram post, "Lies travel fast. But truth books the reunion special." The caption, "See y'all soon. #executive energy." Back on set, Rasheeda was given a choice. Mona handed her a contract for a new solo spin-off, one that would follow her post-Kirk journey. Her rebuilding phase, her truth. "You earned this," Mona said. "But understand, this isn't a gift, it's a test. The audience is watching. If you fake it, they'll know." Rasheeda stared at the paper. It was everything she had ever wanted. Her own show, her own brand, freedom from Kirk's shadow. But it also meant officially closing the chapter on her marriage. On everything she had fought sometimes desperately to hold together. Mama Charlene leaned in and whispered, "Take it. Let that man fall without dragging you down too." Rasheeda looked up, tears in her eyes. And then, she signed. And with one pen stroke, Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta lost its longest-running couple and birthed its newest solo queen. And just like that, Rasheeda Frost was no longer part of a duo. She wasn't one half of Kirk and Rasheeda, the brand, the marriage, the myth that had fueled over a decade of drama. She was her own name now, just Rasheeda. The contract was signed, the cameras were rolling, and a new era was being born, messier and more raw than anything Mona Scott had ever orchestrated before. But while Rasheeda stepped into the spotlight of her solo spin-off, the war behind the scenes was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Kirk's tell-all video had gone viral, racking up over 3 million views in less than 48 hours. Comments were pouring in from fans, bloggers, and even former cast members, some siding with him, others slamming him for playing victim. One comment read, "Kirk, you cheated on national TV like it was your job. Don't cry now that the gig's up." But another said, "Mona been exploiting black pain for ratings. He's just the first one brave enough to talk." Kirk, sensing momentum, doubled down. He released another video, this one more aggressive, more desperate. "They think they can erase me? I built this with Mona. I gave y'all real drama, and now she acting like I'm disposable." He accused the producers of planting fake narratives, paying side chicks to appear with fabricated stories, and even claimed that Mona had once offered him $20,000 to go through Rasheeda's phone, on camera. Meanwhile, Rasheeda was in full transformation mode. Her first solo episode was already filming. Cameras followed her as she moved out of the Frost household, packed up memories, and held a symbolic burning of the infamous Kirk diaries. A box full of letters, love notes, and cheating confessions from over the years. I kept these, she told the camera, because I thought maybe one day we'd laugh about it all. But there's nothing funny about being made a fool. There's nothing cute about forgiving someone who's never been sorry. In the background, Mama Shirlene sipped a mimosa and nodded like a proud general watching her daughter rise from the ashes. I told you, baby, she whispered. Now it's your time. But as Mona edited the footage in her studio, a new storm was brewing. VH1 execs were nervous. The drama was spiraling too fast, too real. Kirk had hired a lawyer, claiming he was defamed by production and falsely portrayed as a manipulator. He wanted damages. He wanted final cut rights. Most of all, he wanted revenge. Emails started circulating within the network, warning Mona to de-escalate talent conflict and ensure brand protection. But Mona, she didn't back down. She doubled down. Let him sue, she told her assistant. I dare him to walk into court and explain how he exploited his own marriage for money. That's not defamation. That's confession. Still, the tension was undeniable. Rasheeda's spin-off test footage was getting early praise, but there was also chatter: was she being used again? Was Mona really giving her a new platform, or just repackaging the same pain with a fresh title? Even Rasheeda began to wonder. In one confessional scene, she stared at the camera, eyes tired. I don't know who I am without Kirk, she admitted, and I don't know if I'm ready to find out. But I'm tired of playing strong just so people don't see me break. Then came the final twist, because of course, there had to be one more. A leaked voicemail hit the blogs. A voice that sounded exactly like Mona Scott was allegedly heard coaching Kirk behind the scenes during one of the early seasons. The audio was grainy, but the words were clear. I need you to walk out. Don't tell Rasheeda. Just leave. We'll follow her reaction. It'll be gold. The blogs exploded. Hashtag Mona's manipulation trended for 2 days. Fans flooded Rasheeda's new page with comments like they've been using y'all for ratings, and y'all were set up from the beginning. Mona issued a statement denying it was her voice. That audio is doctored. I've never forced anyone to do anything they didn't agree to on Love and Hip Hop. But the damage was done. Rasheeda posted a cryptic story. They used our real pain as entertainment, and we let them. Kirk responded, tagging her. Now you see it, but it's too late. You already helped them bury me. And then silence. The reunion was coming. It had been confirmed. Not just any reunion, the reunion, a live, uncensored showdown between Kirk, Rasheeda, Mona, and the entire cast. Editors, no filters. Just truth. Backstage, Mona prepared like a general going to war. She sat in her makeup chair, calm, collected. They all think they've got dirt on me, she whispered to the producer. Let them bring it. I've been in this game too long to be shaken by amateurs. Meanwhile, Rasheeda arrived in a sleek black jumpsuit, her energy unreadable. She greeted her castmates with hugs, even Kirk, whose face was stone cold. Let's finish this, she said. And they did. The reunion set was packed with tension. The live audience buzzed with anticipation. Mona took center stage first, addressing the viewers. Tonight we're going to face it all. No cuts. No hiding. Just answers. Rasheeda was brought out next, greeted with cheers. Kirk followed, and the crowd reaction was mixed. Then came the moment everyone waited for, the confrontation. You said you were used, Mona said to Kirk. But didn't you volunteer every piece of yourself for a paycheck? Kirk fired back. I volunteered the truth. Y'all twisted it into a circus. Rasheeda cut in. You twisted it, Kirk. You lied, cheated, manipulated, then got mad when people filmed it. The reunion turned into a war zone of receipts. Mona pulled emails. Kirk pulled texts. Rasheeda broke down crying halfway through, only to compose herself and keep going. I gave everything to this show. My marriage. My dignity. My trust. And now I'm left wondering who wasn't lying to me. Mona looked genuinely affected for the first time. I didn't lie to you, she said softly. I pushed you. I filmed your story, but I never told you what to say. In a moment that no one expected, Kirk stood and said, then I got nothing else to say. I'm done with this circus. And walked off stage for good. The reunion ended in tears, truths, and unresolved wounds. But for Rasheeda, something changed. She stood taller, spoke clearer. And when the credits rolled, she turned to the camera and said, this is the end of the Frost era. And the beginning of mine. A single spotlight stayed on her face as the screen faded to black. And just like that, the curtain closed on one of the most jaw-dropping chapters in love and hip-hop history. The Frost legacy, once seen as the backbone of the franchise, had crumbled in front of millions. The betrayal, the manipulation, the deeply buried secrets, all exposed. But the story didn't end in ashes. It ended with a spark, a woman, Rasheeda, who walked through the storm, burned by her own choices, bruised by loyalty, but still standing. Not just as a reality star, but as herself. The reunion left more questions than answers. Fans are still debating, was Kirk really a victim of Mona's mastermind schemes, or was he simply mad that the game flipped on him? Did Mona truly cross the line as a producer, or was she just doing what reality TV does best? And where does Rasheeda go from here? Alone. Now, it's your turn. What do you believe really happened behind the scenes? Was Mona always planning to drop the Frosts? Did Rasheeda finally wake up, or was this just another chapter in the scripted chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because we're reading everything. Team Mona, Team Rasheeda, or are you still riding with Kirk somehow? Make sure you hit that like button if you were shocked by how this saga played out. Don't forget to subscribe for more explosive behind-the-scenes tea that no one else will bring you. And tap that notification bell so you never miss an update, because trust us, the next drama is already brewing. This isn't just reality TV, it's reality revenge. You saw the fall of the Frosts. Now you're about to witness the rise of something new. Until next time, stay dramatic, stay messy, and remember, nothing is ever as it seems in the world of Mona Scott.